Listening to it.
Yeah. They finally straightened it.
How's that possible? Your record is so good.
We're on, we're on. She's noting that loud and clear. I'm gonna give it just 30 seconds here just to make sure we're not missing anybody that wants to be here by the official
Yeah.
clock. It's not quite 12 yet.
I told Julie that's the clock she had to go by for revision meetings. So
That's right.
Not that one.
We go by this one. Good with the 30 seconds in. I'd like to officially call this special meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to order for Monday, June 15th. Would you all please join us for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Zoller will offer the prayer.
Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful weather that we're experiencing today, and give us special help as we make these very, very important decisions for the county, as we move the county forward in our Joint Justice Center. Give us the wisdom to do the right thing, and is what is in the best interest of everyone within Seneca County. With your help, amen.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Okay. We have a one-topic agenda for this special meeting, that being the Joint Justice Center. Does anybody in particular want to start with anything? Comment on anything?
Well, I always put my foot in my mouth first, so I might as well start here again. I got athlete's mouth, whatever. We tend to be at a stalemate between the city and the county as to we go forward with this process. I believe this project is bigger than any one of us in this room here. We are doing something that generations will reap the benefit of, and I think it is imperative that we move forward, and we move forward in a timely manner. And so the impasses that we have as to project coordinator, facilitator, whatever, that I think that even though I am reluctantly agreeing to it, I think that it is so important for this project and for the citizens of Seneca County and for Tiffin, Ohio, to have this Joint Justice Center. And I want to repeat, Joint Justice Center, that I think that we have to reconsider that project coordinator, facilitator, and maybe get someone that is more conducive to all parties. But I will emphasize this: I believe, and what I have seen over the past couple months, is that it is absolutely, in my mind, imperative that we have that third party to keep this project on focus, on time, within budget, and to keep the entities. This is a very, very complex program. We've got 3 stools to the leg. We got the city, we got the county, we got the judges, and all got very strong personalities, and all are looking for the best interest within the community. So, with that in mind, I think we need to reconsider our decision to use the NCOR, the COG, and to come up with someone that is more conducive. But again, I cannot re-emphasize enough that we must, in my mind, have this third-party facilitator, whatever, not project manager, but coordinator. And with that, I'll shut up.
Commissioner Kirschner, do you have anything you would like to add or say?
No.
Is it the desire of either, since I was not a motion or the second on it, to totally rescind the motion made last Tuesday, which was to negotiate project facilitation with the COG? It was just to negotiate a contract with them for facilitation, being facilitator. And with the council and the desire to move this project jointly forward together. I know city council has a meeting tonight, which is the reason I wanted to have a meeting now versus after their meeting, just to see if we are all on the same page in thought processes. So do we, I think it would be best if we rescind that motion, that's just my thought.
Since I have made the motion and understanding the comments that I've just made, I would make the motion that we would rescind that motion as long as the contingency is that we still do have to have a third-party facilitator, not project manager, but facilitator for this project. So I would make the motion that we would rescind it, the decision from last Tuesday.
June 9th.
Journal 91, page 227.
Do you have the motion there to state it? I will second. By my readings, it didn't matter, as long as I could just felt that one that motion or second needed to make the motion. Do you have the exact wording, how we had it?
Since we have the other, the other one was entering into negotiations for a contract with the Encore COG for a project facilitator for the Joint Justice Center pending prosecutor's approval.
Okay, so the motion is to, the motion and second is to rescind the motion of June 9th stated as read by our county administrator at this time, and you read the journal. Call the roll.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes. Motion to rescind is approved. On the fact of this project moving forward with, in unison with the city, which is extremely exciting, I don't know if we want to just, for facilitation of keeping it moving, it's still got steps to go through, but do we want to discuss being able to move forward? This was simply nothing more than a draft, not viewed by legal counsel yet, but on such a document, some form of request for qualifications, because that does take us approving that we want to put out a request for qualifications. I don't know what the wishes are if we would move to do that now. Again, it would be jointly with city and after legal counsel approval of whatever the document looks like. Just to keep it moving, they would have to do the same at some point in their meeting to have that happen and move it on through the process to let that go out.
Do we know the order in which the RFQs would be sent out? We have an owner's rep here, draft. Obviously, we have the architect to send out RFQs on, and then if we decide to go with the construction manager at risk, we would also have that to send out. So is the order of things, do we have an owner's rep first? And then an architect, and then a CMR? What is exactly the order of things here?
In the tentative schedules that I saw from the leadership group and the one I had, I think that's kind of how they had it, was doing, well, they didn't call it an owner's rep at that point in time, we were still looking at it as one chunk, whereas we're separating now the facilitator, third-party facilitator, and the owner's rep was strongly viewed on for people wanting to have that. If the owner's rep RFQ went out, like I said, that would detail when they come in, the number of days it's out, the short list process, and move on from there. Before that selection, the RFQs for the other could go out jointly. This is what I heard the people at the meeting of the whole informational meeting share. Could go out together and the schedules be set up accordingly to handle whether architects first, then have on board with this, doing the CMR process. That could be determined as those documents come out, but they could go out, but they would not be being reviewed until the owner's rep is on board.
Would
be a process.
I've reviewed all the processes that went forward. I just don't know what the timing of this is, and by that I mean, if we approve putting together an RFQ, what, for the owner's rep, what other approvals do we need? Then do we need the city to approve that as well?
Yeah,
So-
they both have to by the way our systems are.
Okay, so do we have any sense as to whether or not the city is in a position to approve an RFQ for an owner's rep this evening?
I do not know their process, what kind of readings it takes. So I can't answer that to know. It takes 3, so they would have to introduce it tonight.
Yeah, but they
Is
could
the
do
mo- is the most they
emergency.
could do tonight?
They could
Oh,
do
okay.
emergency.
They could do it in emergency and suspend, I
Suspend
believe.
From the 3 people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's suspended 3 rules.
Yeah, I can't speak for them to know whether they would desire to do that or not. I think they're interested in the RFQ process for the owner's rep. But beyond that, I can't speak for them. So we don't have to do it today, I just didn't,
No, I am happy to do it today.
Yeah.
I think that we need to expedite this process. I don't have any objection to us doing it today. My concern is, after we, I guess the leadership team of this project will determine it as we go, but I'm concerned about what is going to be the timing after this body takes them and I rehash timeframes from the past.
right.
But I am going to ask, what would we expect? And, how long is it after we move to take action that we would then wait for the next action to be taken?
I guess I would like a little definition on this. I mean, I consider facilitator, owner's rep kind of the same team, the same group, whoever it is. Very similar to what the COG was doing, but okay, that's set aside now. So we interview this owner rep / facilitator. They then would go ahead and establish a timeline, go ahead and send out the RFQs for architects, construction manager at risk. No? Then I need definition there.
No, owner's rep, as I understand it, would be that person who is, once the architect and the CMR has been chosen, would be our representative with them.
Correct. That's
Wouldn't that not
the
be
way-
the same thing as a facilitator here?
No.
No. The facilitator, since the discussions have been, if I could be wrong, is facilitator is someone to work with the leadership team, bring the leadership team together, and help them work through any differences. If that's where
Yeah, but
I have felt I wasn't sure we couldn't do that on our own.
Yep.
But the owner's rep is something I think clearly, it's our boots on the ground with some expertise to know the differences and things that, and be our go-to with the architect and every day on the site, that kind of thing.
Would the owner's rep be the same thing as a project manager?
No, Freddie, even the COG had recognized that there needed to be an owner's rep, and that money was coming out of part of what they were asking for. So that this is a totally separate representation for the entire group for the project.
So we have a facilitator, we have an owner's rep,
That's correct.
we will then have a project manager, and then a construction manager at risk.
The only project manager would be if the architect and the CMR had somebody they consider their head person. That would be the only, am I correct, Mike?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the way I understood that.
We would have somebody representing us as an owner's representative, representing us, the royal us, the city, the
Yeah.
judges,
Everybody.
everybody.
He's got boots on the ground.
Right. At that point, we would give that person or that group instructions as to what we wanted from them by virtue of the RFQ, by virtue of reviewing it. Then, the CMR and/or the architect would be, the RFQs would go out for them. Now, there's been some discussion as to whether they ought to go out simultaneously or whether the architect should be first and the CMR be second, but those would be the next 2 RFQs that went out. And then the owner's rep would be our representative in reviewing, helping us review those qualifications, et cetera, and give us advice. A coordinator, Commissioner Zoller, would just be someone who was able to negotiate with the major players to make certain that things went in a timely fashion, to make certain if there were any disputes, they were resolved within a reasonable period of time.
You're talking coordinator, same as facilitator.
Yeah,
So we got facilitator here, we have owner's rep, we have project manager,
no, project manager is not,
okay. We have construction manager at risk,
construction manager at risk.
okay.
And an architect.
The only RFQs that will go out at this point in time are an owner's rep, construction manager at risk, and architect.
How do we choose the facilitator?
Well, that would be a question of discussion with the leadership team, whether they want to put out an RFQ for that position, whether they want that position. And, the proposal with the leadership team is representation from the judges, the county, the city, that would vote unanimously on issues such as that. You know, I propose there's a facilitator, yay, nay, no facilitator, because you've got someone who doesn't want that. That is a plan.
And we're
That is
keeping
not-
the same team?
I like that idea.
Leadership team?
No, we're
No.
not keeping the same leadership team.
Okay.
Is the interest of the leadership team a representation from each of the three groups?
I'm not saying we are or we aren't doing anything. The discussion is,
Okay.
we are not keeping a leadership team. The discussion is that, right now, the discussion is there would be a judge, there would be 2 city council members and the mayor that would combine for a vote. There would be a commissioner's representative, and there would be someone in the room to facilitate this process. That's the proposed plan of action. All to be decided upon by the 2
Sure,
separate
yeah.
groups.
The order, in my mind, has to be the facilitator first. Then we have to, then we would have to bring on a owner's rep. I mean, I would hate like the Dickens to bring in an architect and a construction manager at risk without the very intimate involvement of the owner's rep.
Right,
We
and
don't want
that's-
to bring somebody in all of a sudden they can't work with.
And that's what I was suggesting, that we get this moving, because we will still get a facilitator if we're good, if that group decides they want one in place before this selection, but just for the allowance of time for that to be out there for people to respond to. And then even if the RFQs went out before this is selected, they would not go any further than gathering that documents until the owner's rep was part of the process. I mean, I think that would be ideal. That's the person we all want, you know, speaking on our behalf, keeping the project moving and keeping it on schedule, keeping it on time. Then we need them in place, as you said, right from before we get into those 2 key groups that will be part of this project.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
just to avoid snags in the process, I assume that the RFQ would be reviewed by our prosecutor and also by the city
Yes,
solicitor
yes,
prior to either body passing it.
yeah. Yeah, it needs to be a document that they would, yeah, approve the entities, both legal representation of both entities, and then approved by both groups.
So can this body make a motion today that we are willing to proceed with jointly coming up with a facilitator, and then we would hire a owner's rep? I mean, I think this body ought to give some direction to the team. And then at that point, the owner's rep will then help us do the RFQs for the architect and the construction manager at risk.
Yeah, we can do however we want to do it. I think the leadership team will be the group that will work on the facilitator. And one of us will be on
Yeah,
that team.
on
So
the
they'll have
selection of
ours.
selection of the facilitator. What I'm trying to do is get direction from this body that now we can start moving forward. We have an outline.
Yeah, and I think the only formal part we need would be to request, to do the request for qualifications for an owner's rep with the document meeting the approval of the legal entities of both groups and both groups approving it as.
Yeah, we're getting the cart out of the horse here. Facilitators first. Facilitators, owner's rep.
No, well, no, just because of, you don't put this out and say they're due tomorrow. You put this out and say they're due in 30 days hypothetically, let's say. It could be less than that because this is different than the ones required by law. But just to get that out there, then bring the facilitator. Facilitator is going to be, if that group decides they want one, is going to be engaged prior to starting through doing the short list from whatever comes in based on this request. Does that make?
I think procedurally, I'm in favor of doing anything that expedites the process, so we can make a motion to,
So it doesn't, it does, but like I said, this just gets it moving.
Well, and I agree with Mr. Kirchner. We need to get this moving. We need to, because we are costing the taxpayers $110,000 every quarter of increased cost of construction.
so I would move that the RFQ in the draft form be reviewed by our prosecutor and then by the city solicitor for their, I guess, editing of that RFQ, and that once we receive it back, we approve it as quickly as possible, and hopefully the city will do the same, and we'll get this out for an owner's representative.
I will second that motion.
It's a huge title.
Yeah,
Good luck with that.
Just
That'll
saying.
take me a few minutes.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller.
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard, Stacy.
Yeah.
Motion approved.
We also have pending, I don't know if anybody brought, yeah, Fred did, good. We also have pending a press release that I think that this commissioner should approve.
Want me to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is a press release that we will be sending to all the papers today. Seneca County and the city of Tiffin announced today their total commitment to a joint justice center on the courthouse square in Tiffin, Ohio. Both the Board of County Commissioners and the mayor reaffirmed their united support for this joint justice center project. Both public entities renew their pledge to proceed in an efficient and expeditious manner for the best interests of all the citizens of Tiffin and Seneca County.
Good. Good.
Here's your press release.
And I think the only other matter, just for discussion purposes, is that our prosecutor's fresh back from his vacation, that we get our prosecutor working on our behalf, and the city will have their law director to work on that cooperative agreement. That spells all the things out that lots of people are concerned about, and we've known about, and we know they've started working on, and kind of at a standstill, determining on how this project was moving forward in what manner. So that will be good to get them diligently working on that, and I'm sure they will, and get that in place as quickly as possible.
Okay, just to make it clear about the press release, that is a draft. That is not necessarily word for word how it's gonna be finally put together, because not everybody involved reviewed it. So,
What city has looked at it yet?
well, the city hasn't approved it yet, for sure,
Oh,
so.
they gotta wait till.
There could be some, I mean, it could be the council meeting tonight that they modify it. So I just want to make certain that
Well,
they understand that's not necessarily the language.
If I could just make a comment here, that it is my goal, my prayer, my desire, that we can have this thing out for bid by late fall or early winter this year. So that next year, in this time of next year, we can see shovels in the ground and starting to erect the facility. So that, I think, not that anybody's got a gun to their head, other than the added cost of construction and interest rates and all of those issues there, but if we could possibly try to keep on some sort of timeline there to, and we've had experts come in here and mention that the best time to bid a project of this size is late fall, early winter. And if we can get everything together and get all these differences and come up with a very viable long-term plan, I think we need to try to work towards that.
Yes. Do we have to pass that resolution to release a press release?
No.
Okay.
If we're okay with what it says pending city's approval,
Well, what
and
I-
to make it a joint release after their meeting
Well,
tonight,
I'd like-
that's fabulous.
Okay, what I'd like to do is say if there's any modification that doesn't have any material change to it, that we give permission to the chair to approve that to be sent out. Because I have a sense that there could be some language changes, and I wouldn't want to have to come back to this body to reapprove it before it can get
Sure.
disseminated, so.
Sure. Okay.
I would agree with that. We give authority to the chair to make those modifications as long as it's not significantly different than
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Now, is anybody going to attend the city council meeting tonight, or is that?
But do you need it? You need that in formal motion, or are you just okay?
No,
with it?
I'm good with that, and I can attend it. It's at 7:30.
I believe it's typical time,
Yes, and I
yeah.
would know. Yes.
Yep.
Do they start at 7:30? They start at 7:45.
7:45.
7:30 is committee of the whole, and then 7:45 is the
Yeah.
actual meeting.
I got sucked into that before, so I just. But nothing happens in the council chambers till 7:45.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order for this special meeting? No. Take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. 12:20.